KUGAN CASSIUS iFL TV, in association with MGM Marbella. Welcome to part 2 of our Q&A.
Bear in mind, when this goes out, it was done on Tuesday at 4:30 PM.
So this is now Thursday.
I might have changed my mind on other things by Thursday.
Yeah, this is Thursday. Obviously, yesterday was the Bellew Cleverly press conference.
It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
Oh, it's probably the best event I've ever been to. A two-city media tour. What a great idea, and what a day it was. One I'll never forget. And actually, today is the Leeds press conference,
which we've also had just done.
We've finished that. That was good. Josh Warrington looks in great shape. Great turnout at the Grosvenor Casino, Leeds Westgate, and tomorrow we've got the big weigh-in.
Absolutely. Right. Hamza.
Yeah, I know Hamza.
Yeah. You're a new age promoter, but still clearly respect the established rules and regulations of boxing tradition. Following the scoring of the Smith fight, what do you feel should or can change with regards to scoring, and what is the way forward while not changing too much?
Go on, give Hamza some tickets, because he's always very vocal on Twitter. I think he's quite a bright guy. I just think, you know, sometimes you need people that have been around the sport longer, maybe ex-fighters. I don't know, some people are more knowledgeable than others. I'm not saying that I could score a fight better than Lagunda or whatever his name was, but you have to ask yourself sometimes, how can you score that fight 11 rounds to 1? Do you know what I mean? I mean, how can you do that?
It's ridiculous.
Are you seriously watching that fight thinking that Arthur Abraham has won 11 rounds? It just worries me that what experience, what knowledge do those people have? Because I honestly don't believe it's corrupt. I don't, you know, I just think these people are in there. Oh yes, good round for Arthur Abraham. Oh, there's some good noise there. Oh, good round for Arthur Abraham. I mean, it's like, what are you watching? So I think it's just more about the analysis of who's chosen as a judge. Some brilliant judges out there. But then you see that and you just think, it's a bit like Alvarez against Mayweather. How can you score that a draw?
Yeah.
But I think this was worse. How can you score that 11-1? Anyway.
Ryan Egan, I know you don't think that a boxing-based channel works, but with Matchroom having a variety of sports, will Matchroom ever have its own TV channel?
No, because it's a huge pain in the arse, and we've got a great platform in Sky. Go back to this, and it's very important. I'm not criticising Box Nation. I think that it's got some great international fights, right? But I just don't feel that the model works, because I know the numbers. I know the audience through Barb. It's tiny. It's just not working. And it, you know, again, I'm not knocking it. I think it's great they've tried to do it, and I think it's good for boxing. And like I said, there's some brilliant international fights on. There just isn't the demand yet. There might be in 10, 20 years, I don't know. But in terms of creating your own channel from scratch, very difficult. And when we've got Sky and we produce probably over 10% of their total output, we have the perfect platform. So we're very happy where we are. Not just boxing, but for all our sports. Look what it's done for our boxing. Look what Sky have done for our darts. You know, you can't get a more powerful promotional partner.
Alan Watson, you make me laugh, Eddie. You slagged
Good way, baby.
You slagged Warren for the Rigo link up, but then you go and get Avalos, who heard of. Do you get the contradiction from Carl Froch? Avalos over Rigo, good one.
But does he not understand? I didn't slag Rigondeaux. I didn't slag Warren for talking to Rigondeaux. I spoke to Rigondeaux. I spoke to Gary Hyde months ago. We exchanged a few emails. I put a value on a fighter. So Rigondeaux is one of the best fighters in the world. But what he needs and the purses he requires, I don't believe makes sense for us as a business. Avalos is a total different kettle of fish. The Avalos move was very, very simple. It put me in a wonderful position in the Quigg Frampton negotiations. That's all. Totally up front. Not saying Chris Avalos is a great fighter. I can help him. I can help Avalos because I have a great understanding of this market. I have an understanding of the Frampton team. And also, it helps me hugely in the Quigg negotiations. It was totally for the benefit of my business.
Okay.
I can't say any more. Having Rigondeaux on the purses he requires would not be for the benefit of my business. Simple.
Gareth Hyde, this is a question for both of you with regards to Fight Pass. As part of the KUGAN CASSIUS show, or even a separate format, would it be possible to do something like Matchroom Boxer XYZ Fitness Diary, showing us what they do on a typical day in regards to training and nutrition? I'm not expecting to see Carl Froch 2 weeks out from a world title fight, but just some suggestions from the pros for us fatties at home to try it ourselves. As an example, but on a smaller scale, a bit like the style of David Hayes' fitness DVD, also when Sky had Ruben Tabarez showing us what Hay was eating in the lead up to the Klitschko fight.
Yeah, I mean, in the right way, but I think that's a good idea for content on Matchroom Fight Pass. He's gone to the effort there to think about that. I think we'll give him 2 tickets. But I find that quite interesting myself,
yeah.
So potentially as a subscriber, that's something you'd like to see.
Us fatties, so yeah.
I've done a bit.
You've done? Yeah, I've noticed. Sam Wakerson.
Do you know the problem with being a fatty like us is that you don't really notice it when you're putting on weight, and then I look at an interview with you and I go, Jesus Christ, look. And you know, to put on half a stone for you and me is like, it's like a can of Diet Coke, isn't it? So, what are those socks?
Christmas socks.
One of them days, was it?
Christmas socks. Sam Wakerson. Eddie, honest opinion on KUGAN and James's show on Box Nation. Not heard you talk about it. Surely good for them. How come Sky never got them earlier? You don't seem the kind of man that would be bitter over that. Top man, Ed.
I don't own Sky. I haven't seen it. I don't. Again, I haven't got Box Nation personally because I watch so much boxing on Sky. When haven't got a show, I don't want to be sitting at home watching boxing. I want to be going out. I want to be with my family. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, I haven't seen it yet in my kid's life, and but I've seen you retweet loads of stuff. People obviously look like they're enjoying it.
But if it was on somewhere,
yeah, if I walked past and it was on, I'd stop and watch it for
just
3 or 4 seconds. Yeah, I mean, but an answer, you know, I think again we'll clear up this because people thought that we'd fall out or have the hump. You told me about the opportunity for Box Nation, and if you're alright with me saying this, ask me for my advice. I think. Yeah,
no, because I was doing the Matchroom Fight Pass review, I came to speak to you,
and it was
about it.
For me, it was a great opportunity for you, and I was more than happy for you to do it. And I don't represent you, I don't own you, it ain't even my right to tell you what you can and can't do. But again, unless Sky want to come along and give you your own show, you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you never know. You might get with the big boys one day, son.
We're doing fine as we are at the moment.
All right, then. I'll let them know you're not interested in it.
We're doing fine as we are, my son. We're doing fine as we are. Just to clarify.
You are interested?
No, just to clarify, it was only because obviously I was already doing my Fight Pass.
No, you weren't giving me the ins and outs, but you just said, look, I'm doing Fight Pass. I don't want to get you in trouble because now you seem concerned.
No, I'm not concerned.
You just said, I'm doing Fight Pass, been offered this opportunity with Box Nation.
No, do you have an issue with it?
Yeah, Eddie, are you happy with it? Because I don't want to do anything without you being happy.
It didn't go like that, honestly. But I thought because I was already doing something with you, and we've been doing it and talking about it for months anyway, I thought it was asked to make sure that you
and I gave you my opinion, which was, go for it, son.
Absolutely.
I will. You don't want me to tell you, Sky, you're not interested, do you?
Listen,
I mean, we'll get this out.
We're doing.
I know you're doing really well.
Yeah.
But just in case.
Eddie, shut up now.
Shut
up now. Viva Box Nation.
Oh dear.
Alan Halam. Eddie, how important is social media in boxing? iFL TV is killing it. Yeah, bruv, we are. You're always going about Twitter. Do people actually read the papers for boxing anymore? Your guys' social tools seem to outweigh things like boxing news and nationals.
Brilliant question. 2 tickets. Social media has become huge, bigger and bigger and bigger. I always refer to this, and I watched Frank's interview the other day about Box Nation, and he likened his price of subscription to that of Boxing News. And I don't want to beat up on Boxing News, but to give you an example, we advertise in Boxing News generally more out of support for the trade magazine, but their readership is around, I don't know, say 10,000. I've got 200,000 Twitter followers. Matchroom Boxing have got 80 or 90,000. And we can access those fans in the palm of their hand at any time for free. So it's very difficult to spend money down these other traditional avenues when you've got this new tool available. And I'll be honest with you, it is hard work. You know, my Twitter, I'm on it all the time. I'm constantly asking questions, answering questions. I'm still getting abused because I'm not answering questions that I just can't physically have time to do. But I'm trying non-stop to interact with fans. But I appreciate how powerful it is. I'm not just doing it because I love giving the fans something back. I do, but like there's an ulterior motive, being brutally honest. And that is that we are very, very good at social media. We have a department, which you know, of people who deals directly with social media for us and our fighters. We've invested in that. It's very important. It's going to become more and more important. And we're still off the pace because it's moving so quickly, isn't it? You know. And in terms of what you guys have done, you're providing a platform, really, especially for promoters that don't have a platform. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, of course, for us, the optimum result we can have for any press conference or weighing is to go live on Sky Sports News. Beyond that, the best result we can have is to go delayed on Sky Sports News. Beyond that is probably to get on iFL TV. And that's a big compliment to you because there's plenty of other mediums out there. Newspapers, local, you know what I'm saying? You give us direct access to fight fans. And that's very, very important.
Okay. Fedna Salamai. Sorry if I pronounced that
Some
wrong.
names out there today, aren't
Yeah. Eddie, what do you make of the Billy Joe Saunders interview with iFL, and should they have put that up? If that was one of your fighters making them remarks, would you have allowed it? I don't blame Kugan, but they clearly weren't his views, but still borderline surely.
I haven't watched the interview. Anthony played it in the office because he said, "You're not going to believe this interview. You got to listen to this." And he played it, and I heard sort of a couple of minutes of it. Okay. Firstly, would I allow that to go out if that was my fighter? Absolutely not. Secondly, would I allow my fighter to talk like that? Absolutely not. Billy Joe had the right ump because obviously he was told one thing. He probably wasn't thinking straight. I do have to defend him in that respect.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Should you have put it out? That's the question. Only you can answer that. I believe you asked if you could put it out.
Yeah, I asked Billy Joe's permission twice after he'd done it and thought about it and blah, blah, blah. After it had gone out, you know, if he was happy for it to
The
go
answer
out.
is it shouldn't go out. Inevitably, he'll be fined by the board, I presume. I'm not someone that complains to the board on the sly, on the secret to get people in trouble. It's really not my cup of tea. But I'm sure someone would have. And unfortunately, he probably will get called before the board. Again, I like Billy Joe. He had the ump, obviously, and he speaks his mind. But I don't think it should have gone out, no.
Okay. Lovely.
How many views has it had?
What?
That interview?
Nearly 30,000.
Oh, there you go. Maybe it should have.
Lovely.
Still not returning your calls?
No, she just texted me.
Alright.
Got tickets to the hotel.
Alright, tell her to put a question in.
She did.
Do you want me to text her? Hey.
Don't joke about these things, bruv. Lovely Lydia. This is what she was from. Lovely Lydia. Eddie, why is there never a mention of Carl Froch versus Gennady Golovkin being made? Does it really matter that the fight isn't HBO worthy when you could make the fight at Wembley, put it on Sky Box Office and make a shitload of money anyway?
There's loads of talk about the fight. That's the first thing. The reason it needs to be HBO box office is to make enough money for that fight to be worthwhile. I don't want to sound like, you know, a couple of million is not worthwhile, but when he's made the money he's made to fight George Groves, and there's the money available for other fights like Kessler and De Gale, again, you know, I can't, you know, say, right, KUGAN CASSIUS, you can fight James De Gale or Mikhail Kessler for this much, and you can fight Gennady Golovkin for this much. Exactly. You know, it's not like
no disrespect to Kessler.
No, but that's just life, isn't it?
That with Triple G.
But the thing is that if I went to Carl Froch and said, Carl, you can make this much to fight James DeGale and Mikhail Kessler, or this much to fight Gennady Golovkin,
Yeah.
he'd choose this one.
Yeah.
Because he really ain't afraid of fighting anyone.
Yeah.
But the money's not there yet, and maybe in 6 months' time it will be HBO pay-per-view. We can get. It's not about being on HBO. It's about, I don't care where the money comes from. It can be with Animal Planet pay-per-view. I don't mind as long as that comes in to the mix, and he can make that kind of money. He'd take the fight. And one thing that really pisses me off about fight fans is ones who say, yeah, but isn't it about fighting the best? Yeah, but this is business as well. This is their life. And they're the ones going in there having a fight at the end of the day. You know, it's like me saying to you, and it works on every level, Coog, there's a geezer over there who wants to have a fight with you, right? He's probably quite hard, but I'm not sure you might have a chance, right? There's £100. What do you reckon? But there's another geezer over there. He's an absolute lunatic. It's going to be an absolute war. Could potentially, you could get hurt.
Score.
But that's also £100.
Oh.
But the good news is you get a lot more credit for fighting him. What? You know.
I see where you're going.
I'm not sure that's the best example, but I'm just trying to sort of say to people, put it in context with normal life.
Yeah.
You know. Or there's a job. It pays that 10 grand a year. And there's another job, it's much harder, and there's much more work involved. And it really is going to be tough and horrible, but good on you if you do that one. Same money, which one you want to do? You know what I mean?
That's a good way of putting it.
Thank you. Which one? The work one, or you having a
No,
punch
both of them.
You know?
Oh, yeah, I like the fight one. Ryan B. Eddie, would you stick Callum in with that German geezer Sounders got or not?
Abraham.
Oh,
Fuggenberts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I mean, no disrespect to Feigenberts, but Callum's like 10 in the WBC, and when you see the fight that we're going to announce on the 22nd, it's quite a big step up for him. So
it is.
Feigenberts is quite a way behind that, but he's really exciting. I mean, I think Callum knocks him out, but he can really punch. You know, it looks like a sort of little Rocky, doesn't he? Or a little Ricky Hatton.
Mm.
I like him. He's
James
exciting.
interviewed him in German.
Yeah.
Well, translator, but yeah.
Listen, I had to share a taxi with James to the airport at 4:30 in the morning from Kiel to Hamburg. He had about 7 vodka Red Bulls, and I'm sitting in the front like this, just trying to go to sleep. He did not stop the whole way.
What was he talking about?
Oh, absolute rubbish, just like non-stop about everything. And I was just going. In the end, I said to him, James, mate, you've got. Oh, sorry, son. And he started going, yeah, but what about that? You know. Oh. His interviewing's got really good though.
Yes, I watched all this stuff.
You're more jovial now. You're more, you know.
Now?
Yeah, but you're not really that serious anymore. You know, you're sort of more like the Joker of the two, and he's sort of the real boxing aficionado.
What?
Enthusiast.
Emilio. I swear some of these names are like.
It's like Starbucks, isn't it, when they ask for the name.
Fedini.
You go, what's your name, man? You come up with a
Fedini.
crazy name, like a stupid name, like KUGAN or something. Go on.
If all the other promoters folded tomorrow, like Box Nation, Channel 5 were no longer there, surely that wouldn't be good. You surely need competition to keep you hungry and not complacent.
Yeah, but what? So what do you want me to do? Take my foot off the gas and let people get a bit better? You know, look, Eddie, you're doing far too well at the moment. You've got all the fighters. You're absolutely killing it. Give it a rest, son. Go and have 6 months off. Let the other promoters get back in the game. I mean, what?
No,
like,
but I think the question is saying if there wasn't the other...
but there always will be promoters. Yeah. I'm not all of a sudden going to make promoters extinct. Do you know what I mean? It's just we're doing better than everyone else. Like...
I think the question is more about the competition side.
Yeah, I love competition.
You need it.
Of course,
you need it.
It makes me work harder every day. And there'll always be competition. But again, I can't help the fact that we're killing it, you know.
If you could just make one fight from Carnbrook or Quigg Frampton, what one?
I'd probably have to say Carnbrook. It's a bigger fight. I really want to make Quigg Frampton too.
Okay. You had a phone call the other day, which was today, but this is going out Thursday, so it's the other day. Did you have a call?
About Quigg Frampton?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a little chat. Jake McGuigan, just, you know, I'm sure we'll have a catch up over the next couple, but contact has been made.
You might have had it by now because it's Thursday.
No, we haven't had the meeting yet.
Oh yeah, because we was at Cleverly Belly yesterday.
Yeah.
Tariq Ruhama. All right, Eddie.
Right, mate. What's happening, Tarek?
Tariq. Oh, I said one question, Tariq, and you put a question mark after all right, Eddie. So
yeah.
So
I'm all right.
Okay,
right. Next question.
You've spoken about promoting in America. What would be your strategy for breaking into the US market, especially for broadcasting and the level of fighters you'd like to sign?
Everything is geared around dates, isn't it? From a broadcaster, if you don't have dates from a broadcaster, you got no chance. So, you know, again, we've had so much going on in the UK. I plan to hopefully have some meetings towards the end of this year. I think realistically we're looking at second quarter 2015. But I think what we're doing over here, people like, and I think that could work in the States as well.
Okay. Adam Wood, I've always struggled to see the need for the amount of different versions of world titles per organisation. I understand TV networks like it, but the silver titles can be a huge value in terms of ranking. But I do feel one of many small reasons casual fans aren't invested into the sport long term due to the ownership of not being clear cut enough. Belt ownership not being clear cut enough. As I know you're committed to growing the sport, do you feel that streamlining the whole process would help gain more fans and in turn grow the sport? I should have really put Adam's question in with the previous one about the belts.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it quite a lot. I mean, for me, it's maybe clearer than other people see. I can understand people getting confused, but I think again it's about the product. You know, talking about casual fans being clouded, if it's a great fight, I don't think it really matters what it's for. Do you know what I mean? Because ultimately that viewer or that fan will base their opinion on the fight, the product, rather than what it's for.
Okay. Neil Ferguson, surely Matchroom have enough boxers to put enough dates for Sky. Why team up with Sauerland, which uses up TV dates, when people like Rocky Fielding should be kicking on from a career best performance last time out? John Ryder lost a bit of momentum since his last great Billy Joe performance, and I also feel for Lee Selby. Do you risk dilating quality primetime boxing products and reducing viewing figures?
No, well, I mean, there's so many things that are wrong there. Firstly, let's look at teaming up with Sauerlands. I put George Groves on. I think people wanted to see George Groves. It rated well. I put Paul Smith on against Arthur Abraham. It was a really good fight, rated well. In terms of the three fighters you mentioned, Rocky Fielding busted his hand in that fight and had an operation 3 weeks ago, and he's out till February. The development of his career has been fantastic. John Ryder had a really close fight with Billy Joe, came back, picked up an injury, had to box actually after the Jez Wilson fight. He had an injury and then managed to get him out at the end of last summer. Boxes on October 11th at the O2. Lee Selby, I mean, you couldn't be more wrong. The job we've done on Lee Selby is phenomenal. He beat Martin Lindsay, he boxed the Aussie in Blackpool, he boxed Simeon in Hull, he boxed Ryan Walsh at the O2, he boxed Rendell Monroe in front of a sold out arena in Cardiff, he boxed the Mexican kid in a sold out arena in Cardiff, and now he fights for a final eliminator on October 11th against Joel Brunker. I mean, his progression has been unbelievable. But I've got more than enough dates, and no problem. And don't forget, when I'm linking up with Sauerland, I'm also getting my fighters out as well. Macklin at the weekend, and Stephen Smith was supposed to box but was ill late on. But even on the Groves card, Cal Yafai, Luke Campbell, Ricky Boylan, Darren Hamilton, Gamal Yafai, and one other. So it's working for me at the moment, and it's delivering ratings. I think generally, I hope the fans and the viewers have enjoyed the Groves card. I said him. The Groves card and the Paul Smith Abraham card, and now we're back doing our thing in Leeds this weekend.
Okay. Mark F. Kid Galahad meant to be getting Young Boxer of the Year at the Writers' Award. Hello, Paul Butler on the verge of being a two-weight world champion at 24 and less than 20 fights.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who would deserve that award, Kid Galahad included. I think Butler's probably, you know, again, not slagging Box Nation, but the viewing numbers on Box Nation are so small that he's not getting the credit he deserves. It is a great story, Paul Butler, and he's a brilliant fighter. but unfortunately no one's getting to see it. So, and Galahad's on Channel 5, big viewing figures, you know. Callum Smith could have won Young Fighter of the Year. You know, there's a lot of people who deserve that. Paul Butler's a great talent.
Okay. Hassan Ahmed, greetings, Mr. Hearn.
Hello.
Remember the name, mate, because you'll be promoting me in a couple of years,
What's the
buddy.
name?
Hassan Ahmed.
Okay.
First of all, why is it such a huge advantage for amateur boxers who are wanting to turn pro to go to the Olympics? Is it because they earn good money at the start of their career? Also, roughly, how much would an Olympic boxer, for example, Anthony Joshua, make in 1 year? Peace and love, Kugan Eddie. I'm 16-year-old and my aim is to go to the Commonwealths in 2018 and 2020.
Good luck. Live the dream, my son. Firstly, it's all about profile. You know, obviously, if you get on that GB podium squad, you're getting paid well anyway. The funding's really good, helps you develop. The facilities in Sheffield are second to none. If you get in the Olympic team and you win medals, you've really cracked it in terms of turning pro. The offer's going to be more, your value's more. Generally, you're a better fighter. And obviously you've got the profile there already. I won't go into money about Anthony Joshua, but he's doing very well, and he's going to go on to be, I believe, one of the top earners in the sport ever. So it gives you a great foundation as a fighter because of the development of the GB podium squad, but also commercially as well.
Bobby Atten. Eddie, you basically thought that Paul Smith would get knocked out. Frank Warren is right about home advantage. Put your money up, win the purse bid, and you have another world champion instead of judges screwing Smith in Germany.
Okay, guy's absolutely clueless. Put the purse bid. What purse bid? It was a voluntary defence. We're almost, you know, the amount of work I had to put in to even get that opportunity for Paul Smith. You know, don't forget he's been fighting at the highest level for years and years and hasn't been able to get a world title shot. Signs with me, I'll deliver him the shot. Fortunately, we had to go to Germany. There's no purse bid. It wasn't a mandatory challenge. And if it would have been 75-25. They've got all that money from German television. I'm afraid you've got to get in the real world.
What would you have had to have done to have got that fight here? Would you have to just offered
like
Abraham a ridiculous amount of money?
I mean, say that the money available for that fight is, I mean, just to give you an example, right? If I did that fight in the UK prior to Saturday night, I could probably have about 500, 600 grand to play with. I go beyond that, that's for both fighters, right? I go beyond that, and then it starts costing me money. Abraham would want 2 million himself, probably. So, not being funny, and I love Paul Smith, and I never thought he was going to get knocked out at all. I fancied him to win the fight, and he very nearly did. In fact, he might, you know, with fair scoring, he probably would have. But I'm not just going to like drop $1.5 million to get Arthur Abraham over. Where do you think? What do you think that I've just got like 100 million sitting in there? And I go, I like Paul Smith. Here, Arthur, come on, son. This is a business. So the answer is, unfortunately, sometimes you have to go abroad. Germany could be a different kettle of fish. First time I've had a fight in Germany. I'm aware of things that have happened in the past, but don't forget.
Barkerstone.
Barkerstone. No, but I'm talking about with a judging decision. I forget about that because it was over in 2 rounds.
Right.
But like in terms of Macklin against Sturm, close fight. I felt Macklin won that fight. I actually felt Sturm beat Murray, but draw, whatever.
Yeah.
But these scorecards were like something we've never seen before. You know, but you know, people can't just like come out with statements like that without understanding the business and understanding that it was a voluntary defence. That was one where you phone up Keller and say, Keller, come on, mate, you owe me one here. Give Paul Smith a shot. He's up there in the rankings. We've got the support of Sky. This. Bring a load of Scousers. Oh, on it. Eventually, boom, get the shot. You know, it's not Paul Smith forced his way to that shot. He didn't. Now, he's different. And we'll see what happens.
Umar. I'm a proud Fight Pass subscriber.
You're a man, Umar.
Well done. But I feel the service could be much better.
Okay, come on, I want feedback. By the way, Fight Pass on Tuesday was the pre-sale. for Liverpool. We sold like 4,000 tickets and a pre-sale from Fight Pass.
Yeah.
So that really, really worked. Go on, Umar, hit me with it.
But I feel the service can be unfair. By having an enhanced library in the archive section, as there are only 4 Matchroom cards from the past available to watch, is there any chance in the future all previous Matchroom cards will become available to watch at any time, similar to how UFC Fight Pass works? Thanks, Umar.
Absolutely. Umar is coming to the O2. 1, because he's a Fight Pass member, and 2, because that was a good question. The answer is yes. I think we've got 4 up there at the moment. We've got other fights. We've got 101 knockouts rolling on there at the moment. The answer is yes. It's a big plan of ours to put all our shows on there. We've been a little bit behind schedule, but I think we're delivering good value for customers at the moment, and in time we hope to have all our shows on Fight Pass.
C. Ravel, could be Chris, could be
Colin,
Colin,
could be KUGAN.
It's not KUGAN. Might be a Colin after the question.
Okay, go on then.
You're not going to probably like it. Eddie, when are you going to stop messing about with Scott Quigg? Every time he fights, there's always a big fight round the corner, in inverted commas. How many fights has he had with you now? Put him in with Rigo Frampton and Santa Cruz and find out if he's the real deal. It's like you're stalling and milking him.
Okay. The fights he's had with us, one is William Prado, which was like an 8-rounder, which was just, he signed with us and we got him out 2 weeks later. The next was Salinas, who's an absolute quality fighter. The next was Silva, which was like 6 weeks after, which was a bit of a gimme, to be honest with you. He was okay, but the next was supposed to be Semeno, who was the mandatory. And then we went down and got Munyai, quality fighter. Scott Quigg dispatched him. Then we got Mbunda, and he pulled out, and we got Jamoy, who went 7 with Santa Cruz, had a tight one with McDonnell, went the distance for WBC bantamweight. Quigg just demolished him. The answer is, we have been treading water a little bit, because we've been trying to get the big fights that aren't available. Quigg, of course, was fighting Martinez. That's them, Frampton, Martinez, them two. I won't say begged, but I virtually begged for the Santa Cruz fight. We will go to America. I've got a load of money from Sky. We're not even that expensive. They're not interested. They're not interested in Scott Quigg. They're not interested in Frampton. They're not interested in Rigondeaux. And Rigondeaux, we don't want to fight Rigondeaux.
No?
No, unless there's the reward for fighting him. And not just, it would be great for you to fight him. That's
is that kind of like the Froch Golovkin thing? Yeah.
Rigondeaux's brilliant. So give me the money to fight Rigondeaux, we'll fight him.
Okay.
But, you know, again, Scott's on November 22nd. He's in a real good fight. And that has been announced now.
Andy H. You're quite deluded into thinking Hearn and Brooks sells out Wembley 80k. You got lucky with the Froch and Groves too because of the first fight and the controversy. You won't do it again in our lifetime. Thank you.
Alright, well, you just go and knock one out and I'll just keep delivering. Well, like, I mean, I'm telling you it sells out. You've got the National Stadium. You've got 80,000 people that went to the last fight who absolutely loved it. They'll all return, plus more. That sells out. Leave it to me, son. End of story. Deluded.
Andy.
Man, deluded. You know.
Mucha Grande.
Yeah, Macho Grande, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to give it a little foreign twang. When referees and officials are appointed to the board sanctioning bodies to fights you promote, what contact, if any, do you have with them? Do you pay their expenses? Do you pay for any food, travel or accommodation? Do they get any complimentary tickets for friends or families or anything else that might be,
set me up here for
might be deemed a perk? If so, how is this administrated?
Okay, it's a good question. He can have a couple of tickets.
Yeah.
Quite straightforward. For instance, let's take Germany for example. The officials will be put forward, obviously not my show. The officials will be put forward by the WBO. You get the chance to look at the officials if you have a problem. They were 3 neutral officials, quite pleased. Do you know what I mean? So, obviously, our Spanish friend, now looking back, you know, he's officiated fights before. You expect a high standard from the WBO. He wasn't. In terms of when it's your shows, the board, the British Boxing Board of Control, if it's a British title fight, whatever, will appoint the officials. and they're put into the team hotel that everybody stays at. You've seen the officials at the hotel before. Complimentary tickets? No, I mean it's not. It's just like that doesn't happen. They eat with everybody else. The contact you have with them is at the rules meeting, and also, all right, mate, at the hotel. You know, it's quite social at the hotel. You might bump into them at the restaurant or at the bar, but I think people have got to get out of the opinion that, like, I mean, I don't know what your opinion is, but do you think boxing's corrupt? I mean, like, as a fan, because I'm involved with it, and I know that people might think I'm talking bollocks, but I'm telling you honestly, I don't see it. I don't see the opportunity to even make it corrupt. Do you know what I mean? Without, I mean, and you know, stuff like the Howard Foster thing. I mean, like, I feel for Howard Foster because he's had a lot of stick, and he's a good, solid official and a solid bloke. Do you know what I mean? And some bloke tweeted me the other night going, "How can you talk about Smith Abraham when you had Burns Gonzalez?" And I went, "Gonzalez quit on his stool." He went, "Yeah, you obviously paid him off to do that." But he was 100% serious. And I was thinking, at what point during that fight did I go round to the corner and say, "Mate, pull out here and I'll give you a grand"? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it just doesn't happen. So I think it's more about inept officiating, and everybody has bad nights. I was interested, I saw Paco Valcazar's tweet yesterday. Did you see? He said, "Everybody has bad nights, but you're not allowed to." Do you know what I mean? That was obviously talking about maybe that judge has had a bad night before. But
so you run your business, isn't it?
You can't be making mistake after mistake, can you? In any walk of life.
No, apparently not. Mark M.
Is that computer supposed to be off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark M. A lot of questions about Frank Warren. Have you actually ever spoken to Frank Warren? If you want to make a fight with him, i.e. Smith versus Buglioni, why not just contact him direct? This feud between the two seems pathetic. You're not Floyd and 50 for fuck's sake.
He ain't 50. I've never spoken to Frank Warren. No. I mean, you know, been in the same room a few times. Got no feeling to, like, I don't look at him and think, "Why you?" or like, it's just another promoter to me. Loads of talk between us about making fights, not between me and Frank, but between me and Andy Ayling, or John Wish mainly, and who works for us, and Andy Ayling. Quite a lot back and forwards on different bits and pieces. So I think the opportunity's there. The fact remains is they want all their best fighters to box on Box Nation. We want all our best fighters to box on Sky. It's not like, it's nothing personal, it's just business, and it's always been like that, unfortunately, and it's how it'll always be, unless you get into a purse bid scenario, and then it's whoever pays the most money.
Right, Saunders.
Yeah. Smith Ocean.
Mark McFarlane. Mark. You always highlight that a boxer's career is about making as much money as possible, but in the majority of cases you don't make life-changing money. When they leave the sport, it seems so many go off the rails. Would it not be the time to start getting ex-fighters trained up with the British Boxing Board of Control as ringside judges or refs, in particular judging area where an ex-fighter will score a bout much better than the majority of people? Even having ex-fighters as referees would be a great addition. A fighter would probably tell if a fighter was gone or is probably just stunned and wouldn't stop or stop the fight early. They would know when to break up holding and actually allow fighters to work on the inside at times. With judging and refereeing being highlighted a lot more lately, this could win all round and give ex-fighters a career after boxing if promoters push for this introduction. Regards, Mark.
Very good question. I know Mark, he can have 2 tickets for the O2. I believe he's from Dublin, so I'm not sure he'll come over, but very good, valid point. The only thing I will say is that when fighters leave the sport, I don't think they want to think about being involved in that capacity at the moment. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, let's look at them. Barker. Imagine you turn around to Barker and you went, "Darren, I'd like you to be a referee or a judge." He'd go, "Fuck." You know what I mean? So maybe it's when they get a little bit older. But I think if they could have that service set up, you know, I definitely think they'd make good referees and good judges. People who've been involved in the sport and participated in the sport. Yes.
Okay. Grant Hayden. Anthony Joshua's 8-0, but 3 fights ago you were saying he was ready for Fury, Chisora, etc. So go on, put him in one of them instead of complete no marks you already have.
Well, no marks. Talk about no marks. I mean, these are like Erich, Skelton, and Baktov. They're quality fighters. You're talking about 7th, 8th, and 9th fights. Skelton, Erich, Baktov. Just because he beat Fury and Chisora now doesn't mean you put him in with them. Because you do it when the time's right. You don't need to gamble with Anthony Joshua after 8 fights. His progression's great. We virtually sold out the O2 for his 9th fight. Everything's perfect. He's going to be one of the biggest stars in world boxing. Just enjoy the journey. We know what we're doing.
Okay. Simon Wales. If Kelly Maloney rings you up and wants to make the Audley Harrison fight for Anthony Joshua, can you let us know how the conversation would go?
Yeah, sure. I'll let you know how it goes.
No, I think they...
Oh, right, sorry.
How would that go?
It's not really a fight that's on the radar at the moment. I spoke to Audley the other day. He's looking at his options. He's talking about the Hay rematch, which... just... like, I mean, he's unbelievable, and I love Audley. I've got so much time for him. And what people saw on Big Brother was the real Audley. That's why people liked him. But I just don't want to see him fight again. You know what I mean? But it's hard when you've got that desire burning inside you, like Curtis Woodhouse. I don't want him to fight again. But I can understand when you're sitting at home on your couch going, I just love it. I want to do it. You know. So. And Audley.
Why don't you want Curtis to fight then?
I just feel like he's overachieved. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but when you've given that much to achieve what he achieved, it takes a piece of you. And he admitted to me that night in Hull, when he beat Darren Hamilton, took a piece of his soul, just like Barker when he beat Gill. And once you do that, you're not the same, and then it becomes dangerous.
Okay. Darren Brady, can you ask Eddie if we did a UK version of the Super 6 format from our current crop of super middleweights, excluding Carl Froch, who would win and why? I'm talking about Groves, DeGale, Paul Smith, Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, and maybe a Marty Murray stepping up in weight, or a Bullioni Eubank Jr. being the 6th man. Would be great for fans to watch. I personally think Callum Smith beats the lot.
Could do. I'd have to back Callum Smith, James DeGale, Rocky Fielding, and Paul Smith at the moment. Depends who fights who, at what stages in the competition. All great fighters.
Sorry, PS never been to a matchroom show.
Well, sort it out then. Oh, go on then. I didn't see what he was getting
Darren Brady. He actually put, just blatantly, would love some tickets.
Go on, he can go.
Go on.
But it's a good question, and I think that would be a fantastic format.
Great.
But, you know, politics.
Stuart Kennelly. Hi.
Hi.
Personally, I think Groves asking for a 3rd fight with Carl Froch is ridiculous. What's your opinion on that, Eddie and Kugan?
Well, it's ridiculous at the moment, but who knows in time? You know, I mean, he's been stopped in one fight, and listen, I hope stopped 10 seconds too early, whatever. I think people know now by the 2nd fight what was going to happen. The 2nd one was so clinical, but you know, he's got to go out and prove himself again. He didn't look great against Rabras, but it's difficult to come back off a knockout like that. I think he'll have one more, then he'll fight Durrell probably next year. So if he can beat Durrell, who knows? Again, it comes down to what people want to see. You know, probably though, when he said that, I mean, probably 80%, 90% was, it's ridiculous, but still 10% went, I'd like to see the 3rd.
Do you think part of the reason why as well he said it is because Froch was standing there?
Yeah, but George is very good at that. He's good at goading, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, but again, I still got like I said, 10% going, I'd like to see number 3.
Do you know what?
But
I've got a slight curiosity for that. Not that I'd want to see it ahead of.
I just think it's just going to get worse for him against, like, you know, if that was Froch in there that was Rabras the other night, it would have been bad, you know. But again, hopefully he does come back, and if he wins a world title, it could be a massive fight, number 3.
Okay. Eamon Hagan, with Sky Sports failing to get the Champions League football next year, do you think with more money available in the Sky budget that some of it will be used into getting big boxing fights made more regularly?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, boxing's a big focus for Sky at the moment. Next up's the Premier League. You know, they'll be putting their war chest together to win that. So it's difficult, but boxing, whilst it's important in their makeup, it's probably not a key subscription driver. But I'm very happy with the commitment they've given, long-term commitment to the sport for us. Very corporate, wasn't it?
Very corporate. Mike Stands, Eddie, no one wants to see Froch Kessler 3. Bit like Floyd saying fans wanted Mayweather Maradona 2. No, we didn't. It seems as though Froch don't fancy the Gal fight because he won't get any credit if he wins. If he loses, it would be a disaster. If he wins, who cares?
I'm getting mixed responses. Kessler, De Gale, like some want to see the Kessler fight, some want to see the Gale fight. I'd like to see Froch De Gale.
I'd like to see Froch De Gale.
But, you know, we'll see.
What about that point about not getting the credit?
I don't think he'll get the credit for beating De Gale, no. I agree with that. And I think if he lost to De Gale, it'd be a sickener because you'd think, oh, I've beat all these people and now I've lost to De Gale. But De Gale might just be a great fighter.
We shall see. Phil Wayland, can you explain how a boxer's purse is made up, including TV money and sponsors? Give me an example.
Well, it depends if they're fighting in the UK or abroad. So I'll give you an example. In the UK, your purse is your purse. Sponsorship's on top. That can be negotiated and delivered by the promoter, generally by your manager, you know. So I might be saying to you, right, Kugan, there's 10 grand to fight Joe Bloggs, and you go, right then. And then I might have a sponsor for you, or your manager might have a couple of additional sponsors, that's on top. When you're fighting abroad, the offer that normally comes is a purse plus television from your market. So I'd say to you, Kugan, you can fight Deontay Wilder, and there's 200 grand plus UK TV rights. It's then your promoter's job to go and sell those TV rights. So that's effectively UK earnings. And what you see on declared purses is actually the purse put forward from the bout agreement, not the total revenue made by the fighter from that fighter, from that fight. Do you understand?
Yeah. Okay. Be more than 10 grand though. Get me.
Well, I said 100.
No, first you said 10 grand.
Oh, right, okay.
Andy Seegers, Eddie, do you believe that Coyle and Campbell will happen next year in Hull? That would be big for the city.
Would be massive, and I hope it does happen. But they've both got to get through October the 25th first. Coyle's got Katsidis, which is just an absolute war, and Campbell's got Briswada, which is a brilliant fight.
They are two very good fights.
Thank you.
I've got to go back here a sec. Oh, here we are. Rico Albertelli. Do you know what? No, this is a real geezer. I've seen his name before, but do you not think that some of these names are
no, they're weird, aren't they? Maybe they don't want to, especially if they're abusing me, they don't want me to know their real name.
This is definitely not abusing you. 100% not. That was my phone, by the way. That was that look. I know the British Board of Control have a fund to help injured boxers such as Jerome Wilson, but do you think that something could be done in boxing as a whole? Perhaps a small percentage of every purse and every show could go to a fund to help boxers who suffer with injuries which could be fatal. This might be highly beneficial when you consider how much money boxing can make. That money could help lives in the aftermath of an incident such as Jerome's.
Yeah, I think there is a fund set up already, but I've got to say, the great thing about boxing is that people come together and help fighters. You saw it on Sunday. So much has been done for Jerome Wilson already, and now we're getting to some serious money for his family to help with the support. So anything like that can help injured boxers, great, but there's always people willing to help in the sport because there's a lot of good people.
100%. Nev Koshel.
No, Nev. Oh, Nev.
Nev. We all know that generally the hardest part of a fight game for a boxer pre-fight is making weight. Over the years we've seen a lot of safety concerns where devastating KOs have been a result of the boxer being dead at the weight, of struggle to make the weight beforehand. The IBF do a check weight on the morning of the fight where a boxer cannot be over £10 over the limit for the fight. What are your views on this technique and rule, and what rules would you like to see to put in place or tightened over the next few years to ensure the safety of the fighter and also fairer and more equal fight and weight at the first bell?
It's a good question. I think Nev's already come into the O2. So different governing bodies already put a lot of different things in place. So you have check weights, for example. So say you've got to be 10 stone 7. We will weigh you, or sorry, the governing bodies or the board will weigh you during your camp so you can hit certain targets to make that weight. The problem with that is that sometimes fighters that are struggling at the weight will work to make that weight for the check weight. And then once they've made the check weight, fluid back on board and they're back to their original weight. I like the IBF £10 rule, but I do also find that the IBF allow a rule that if you miss that £10 weight on the morning of the fight, you then get 2 hours to take it off. But obviously the British Boxing Board of Control don't allow that in their jurisdiction because you're not allowed to take weight off on the day of the fight. That's why weigh-ins were moved to the day before. In answer to the question, I think the other governing bodies talk about implementing the £10 rule as well. Now across, I think it's a good rule, but it doesn't really help in the weight making process because it's post weigh-in. Do you know what I mean? It's just that's really to make sure that fighters don't put on too much weight after the event. I think that what you'd remember back in the old days used to weigh in on the day. So really, you probably find that middleweights now would be super middleweights then, because they couldn't make the weight on the day and then fight effectively and efficiently at night. So I just think that you get such an edge if you're doing the weight right, and so many fighters aren't. But there are more and more taking it seriously, more and more working with nutritionists and dietitians to make it right. And if you are making it right, you're at a huge advantage.
Right, Oscar Tunes. Do you remember Oscar Tunes?
I think so.
Hi Kugan, I literally only just seen the tweet to ask Eddie for tomorrow's Q&A session, so I guess I missed the boat for this one. However, I did ask the below question for your last session and you read it out, and Eddie said I would get tickets. I never received an email
That's
from
your
you.
fault.
Hold on, after the tickets, tell me what I needed to get for these tickets. I was wondering if you might be able to come to the O2 instead. It's a bit cheeky, but if you don't ask, you don't get.
Did I give him a ticket?
He did win tickets.
Then you have to give it to him.
He did win tickets, to be fair.
But I think you should buy him 2 tickets for the O2 because at the end of the day, you're manning this ship, and if you can't deliver for the fans, then you have to be punished. And you can't, this guy has won tickets and you've just failed to contact him. What do you expect people contact you? Is that?
I'll be honest.
You haven't even got a pen.
My mistake with a pen. I'll be honest, I couldn't find Oscar Tunes.
Okay. But did he win last time?
He did.
Okay, then he gets tickets.
Okay.
If you haven't delivered, we have to deliver for
Oscar, do me a favour. Can you just make yourself public?
No. Now you're going to get some geezer on Twitter going, Oscar Tunes is me.
Actually, no, I'm going to find your email, which I should have done in the first place. There was over 4,300 emails.
Do you mean 4,300?
4,300. No, but do you know how ridiculous that is?
4,300.
I've just said it. Do you know how ridiculous that is? 4,300 questions, people asking you questions.
So that's good, isn't it?
The record before that was under 3,000.
Okay, good.
Good. Jamie Williams. Kugan, can you put this to Eddie, please, mate? Eddie, which current fighters or matchups do you think can fill Wembley? In my opinion, Brook Khan, Mayweather Brook, or Khan or Froch with a big name like Golovkin or Chavez. And I think AJ will be able to fill it on numerous occasions in the next year or two. He's a superstar in the making.
I agree with everything he says. Not sure about Froch against a name and Khan against a name. It has to be the right domestic fight, in my opinion. But he's right about AJ. I think AJ is going to be a Wembley filler.
I think so as well. There is one question here left. God. Do you know what? I can't find it. Hold on.
It's got to be unbelievable now, otherwise it's just...
Where the... Oh, here it is.
It's got to be good, Keith.
Got it. I apologise if I get the pronouncing of this name wrong. Chibi Menahaya. First of all, I'd like to say what a great job you and Kugan.
Oh, it's the first positive thing we've had so far.
Great job you are doing, Kugan, and of course Matchroom. That's good.
I was at the back.
Also, Eddie, thanks for not letting any boxing politics get in the way. Now Kugan has a show on Box Nation and still being part of the great content he delivers. Here's my question. I saw an interview on iFL TV with Robin Deacon, and although I admired his spirit, was kind of dismayed to hear about his story. Eddie, I just wondered, do Matchroom have any separate medical checks they do for boxers outside of the Boxing Board medicals and the boxing medical team? And would you refuse to promote a boxer who you thought was in harm of serious damage if they kept boxing?
A lot of the fighters have got individual doctors, and we've got doctors that we work with. The board's medical requirements are very stringent. I've worked in a lot of commissions around the world where they aren't as stringent as the board's, doctors and commissions. If there was a fighter that I felt I didn't want to fight because I was worried about his health, or I was concerned that he was taking too much damage, would I promote him? Definitely not. And some might come on and say, yeah, but what about James Toney? I mean, these are like individual circumstances. You're talking about very, very good fighters who, by the way, I'm not promoting, I put on Prize Fighter, but he passed all the tests and all his scans, and you're not just talking about me going up to you and saying, how do you feel? Do you feel okay? Doing the old reflex test. These are eye tests, extensive brain scans, physiological tests, eye exams. So you're being cleared really the right way. If there's anything wrong with you, it will be detected. But my thoughts on just a fighter that I think is taking too much punishment, or I would make a call on that in terms of me promoting them. But I'm very comfortable with the board's position, tests, scans, procedures, and doctors in terms of deciding who's fit to fight and who's not.
Okay, we're done. That was
2 hours.
2 hours to solid. We did an hour on Tuesday. That's the flash to say it's running out. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been very insightful. Apologise if your question was read out, but you've got to appreciate there was, like I said, nearly
4,300.
4,300.
That's a lot.
Or 4,300, some people may say.
Yeah.
And obviously there's probably, I don't know, maybe 100 questions read out, so it's a very small percentage, but what can you do? I tried to pick out a few different people this time rather than the same ones.
There's a lot of newbies there.
I know there's a lot of hatred ones, but I know like you thrive off them.
You didn't include the hatred ones, or you did? Or was there some bad? Was there some bad ones?
I'll be honest with you.
Was there some ones you didn't want me to see?
There were some worse ones that I thought that would maybe like crush you in the interview, but I thought some of them were a bit harsh, to be honest, but I thought I'd give you a chance to explain to them certain things.
Listen, not everyone's going to like what we do.
I didn't appreciate the Brook being called a pubic ball bag, though. That's a bit harsh.
I've been called worse.
Ahmed. It wouldn't call you it, it's calling Brook.
I know, but I've been called worse.
Say it to Brook's face.
Oh, but it's,
Pubic ball bag. It's not the one. Alright, well listen, Eddie Hearn, it's good to get this Q&A done with you today.
Good, catch up another one month or something like that?
Yeah, we'll try and make it. I think once every 2 months I think we should do it.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. This has been KUGAN CASSIUS with Eddie Hearn. I will make sure that everyone is contacted about their tickets, including Oscar Toons.
You remember, you got a good memory.
Yeah.
Nice one, Oscar.
Nice one. Thank you very much for watching.